How to accelerate your fitness. So there's no story for this intro. I'm just gonna get straight to the information. So my main piece of advice for this is associate yourself with a group that you initially feel slightly uncomfortable in. If you're comfortable in your group as soon as you join, then the people in your group aren't good enough at your skill or fitness. So I'll give you a little FIFA analogy. Let's say you're a 65 rated academy player in FIFA and you're playing with the Man United first team. Like that's not gonna work out. That's like too much of a difference for you to gap. If the gap between you and your new group is too big, it's not possible for you to learn and grow from them. If you wanna get 90% on a high school math test, like it's a better idea learning from your actual class teacher than a full on like D1 mathematician, because the gap there is just too much for you to try bridge. Your new group is slightly better than you, but shouldn't be a massive difference better than you. But if we like laser focus onto how you apply this to fitness, don't join a group in the same like scenario or environment as your current group. So let's say at your gym you start lifting with you start following our advice here, you start lifting with two or three like massive like steroid heads, the biggest guys in the gym, while your normal friends are still there. This alienates your friend group, but just makes you look like a clout chaser. So I wouldn't recommend this. Keep in mind that keep this group, and when you feel yourself growing in fitness, you'll feel a nice sense of accomplishment by learning from the people better than you. So when you go back to your old group, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment purely by getting better than other people in activity, which is almost just the way that your mind works. You always want to try to compete with other people, and you gain satisfaction from progressing in that competition and beating other people. This works because mentally, you never want to be the worst at something, but also at the same time, once you're at the top, you got no reason to keep improving. And this is kind of like the cringe, like YouTube advice that you see of like level up your circle. But honestly, just try to meet people who have a high amount of skill in what you're trying to do. So I think this is where people get the idea of find a mentor, become a mentee to someone. And this is also the reason why a lot of these influencers that you see, they have their own like success groups. You see a lot of people with like communities that they say are gonna like motivate your success and increase your success. I reckon that works to a certain level, but it all depends on how seriously that you take the group. Because realistically, you're not gonna take a group that seriously if it's just online, if it's just digital, compared to if you have to see them face to face and you have to physically tell them that you're not as good as them and you physically see that you're not as good as them in something. I'll give you an example. So at school, one of my friends, he's like a bit above average academically, right? But pretty close to the middle, nothing special. But because of some timetable changes, he got moved from the middle class to the smartest class in the subject. And now, even though he's on the lower end of what the kids in the smarter class get on a test, he's still way above what his old self would have gotten in that old class he used to be in. But obviously, you can argue that, oh, he works harder now that he wants to align himself with whoever's in that new class. But that's the same. That goes to my point. It's just saying that you never want to be the lowest in a group or a situation. You're always gonna do whatever amount of work you can to at least get to average, at least have someone below you. But then there's another situation where another one of my friends, because of some timetable changes, he moved from the middle to the like a low class, so the opposite situation. He went from being average for his middle class. He's one of the best in the lower class, right? But like if you compare both situations, he's doing like a good amount worse than what his old situation was doing in that middle class. Like if this class is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he moved from class 3 to class 5. He went from being decent in class 3 to being amazing in class 5, but he's still doing worse than what he was doing in class 3. And then the first friend I was talking about, he went from being decent for class 3 to going up to class 1, being like being like on the lower end there, and he's still like bodying what he would have gotten in class 3. So that just shows the extent to which who you're surrounded with influences how good you get at something that you're trying to improve at. Going back to what I said before about you never want to be the worst and you have no reason to keep getting better if you're the best. I think that's what the reason why my story that I gave of those two guys makes a lot of sense. because one of them, even though he's at the top of class 5, in his mind, he's not exposed to people outside of that class 5 often enough. He's not exposed to people who would give him a reason to get better. Because every single day he's exposed to people who are worse than him. So even though, like, on a whole school level, he's doing worse, in his small, like, community, he's doing better. So that's the dangers of being in a small community where you're the best, because it stagnates you pretty much. What practical advice would I give to you? Join a group in a different pool. So let's say outside of your gym, you join your boxing or you join a calisthenics club, and this just gives you the chance to get exposure to people who you wouldn't normally see. And this would help you gain success, whatever you're trying to get success at. This is probably where a lot of motivation comes from, because you want to be in a group where you have a realistic chance of becoming, like, in the top, like, third. You want to be in a group where you start out like one of the worst ones there. The realistic amount of work you could get to the, like, top third or something. Yeah, thanks for watching. This was a bit of a waffly video. I'm still getting used to just sitting in a room and just trying to make a point. I think I might switch to content with, like, talking to another person. I'll probably get what I want to say across better, because it just feels awkward sitting here trying to make a coherent point when I see nobody that I'm actually communicating with. But thanks for watching. I don't know if this video is going to make any sense. 50 subs.